That's right. Live, laugh, love, everybody. It's another edition of Maryland's Cafe Society Radio right here on the YouTube channel. And welcome. Welcome to the show on this Tuesday, November 27th, 2022. And how are you doing? Are you out of that food coma? Are you turkeyed out? Let's see. You had turkey on Thanksgiving, but turkey sandwiches on Friday, turkey salad on Saturday, some more turkey on Sunday. Oh, I tell you. Well, I hope you had a good one, an enjoyable one. And how was your Black Friday? Listen, Black Friday, Small Business Saturday. What was Sunday? I don't know what Sunday was. Monday was Cyber Monday, and here we are on Giving Tuesday. Welcome again to the show, everybody. Well, listen, I had a pretty good Thanksgiving day. It was low key, quiet. And about those sweet potato pies, well, I tell you, I gave it the old college try and at least trying to get the ingredients together to make the darn things. But I waited too late to get to the store to get everything that I needed to make them. So, needless to say, I did not make them yet. Yeah, as soon as I get some free time, I'm going to make that a priority because I want to do it from scratch. I don't want to cheat. I want to make them from scratch. And you know, that's time consuming. So, we'll as soon as I get that little project done, I snap up some photos and maybe go on camera and show you the end result. In the between time, because I waited so late and time was running short, I just ended up picking up one of those Patty LaBelle sweet potato pies, and it was pretty deep. All right, all right. Well, all of this Thanksgiving talk kind and sweet potato talk kind of takes us right into our cafe talk question for this edition of the show. And of course, it's fun, lighthearted, sort of one of those Pepsi or Coke questions. Yeah, and here it is: sweet potato pie or pumpkin pie? Sweet potato pie or pumpkin pie? I know. That's a good conversation that's going to happen a little bit later. But what do you prefer, sweet potato pie or pumpkin pie? In the meantime, let's go ahead and jump into our cafe news. Now, here's a story coming in from Forbes.com. It reads that as of Monday, China reported more than 40,000 new COVID 19 cases, which they're saying is an all time high for new cases being reported in China. So, um, what you know, what does all of this mean? Now, one of the things that they were saying is that the new count raises questions about the effectiveness of the nation's stringent zero COVID approach that has triggered unprecedented mass protests and several Chinese cities and more news outlets are reporting that demonstrators have poured into the streets over the past weekend, and places like Shanghai and Beijing, of course, criticizing the policy, confronting police, and even calling for Xi Jinping to resign. Yes, yes, yes. And now the angry protesters focused most of their attention on restrictions that confine citizens in China to their homes for months at a time. And some have complained that the system is failing to respond to the needs of the people. Boy, I tell you, they went on to say that some Shanghai police have had to turn to pepper spray to drive away some of these protesters and demonstrators. Dozens were detained and taken away in police vans or buses, and of course, it's just not clear whether that's going to be the end of the protests um, behind this. I guess what stirred it up was a family that I guess seven family members were killed in a fire as a result of the lockdown situation. They just couldn't get the help to them as quickly as they needed to due to the lockdown. But anyway, as a result of these protesters, the government censors have scrubbed the internet of videos and messages that support the protesters in an effort to eliminate this from happening again. Now, clearly, this zero COVID policy has worn thin with the people of China, and they've taken to the streets. We'll continue to follow this story, everyone, so stay tuned. In a related story on Sunday, Dr. Anthony Fauci, who of course is that outgoing chief medical advisor who got us through the last couple of years of COVID 19, um, has said that this country is still in the pandemic phase of COVID 19. That's right. He was doing an interview with NBC's Meet the Press, and he went on to say that. All we have to do is look at the numbers. He's indicating that there's 300 to 400 deaths per day still happening here in this country. Now, of course, Dr. Fauci is going to be stepping down from his roles as director of the National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Diseases and as chief medical advisor to the president next month. Switching gears, well, we've learned all about the Amazon layoffs, right? And so just a few days ago, Amazon reportedly offered buyouts to its recruiters so that they could ramp up artificial intelligence software that will replace them. Mhm. Now, reportedly, they have corrected or fixed some tweaks to a failed 2017 attempt that was scrapped over allegations that the artificial intelligence system that they were working on was biased against women. Yeah, that artificial intelligence software, it's probably just going to call up people and ask them a series of questions, and based on their responses, set up interviews for them to actually go into the various hiring facilities for Amazon and meet a real live person. And, depending on who's programming this software, some of the questions can be biased. So I'm glad that the internet police were on that one. And we'll see, how this artificial intelligence software works in terms of replacing human beings. We're headed there, people. We're headed there. I know it's hard to believe. I mean, we're already seeing, we've been seeing it for some years now, how people are being replaced by computers and machines, and it's just going to continue to get that much more advanced. And we'll be right here learning about it and reading about it on the Cafe Society. So stay tuned and stand by. Well, it has come and gone, and that is, of course, Black Friday. Yeah, according to MasterCard Spending Pulse, Black Friday sales were up this year thanks to both in-store and online shoppers. Yeah, United States retail sales were up 12% year of year. In-store sales specifically increased 12%, while e-commerce sales saw a 14% jump. Now, the overall increase was in part due to holiday promotions kicking off long before the Thanksgiving weekend. Yeah, you saw some of these retailers offering Black Friday deals way before Black Friday, or at least a couple of weeks before. Anyway, by Black Friday, that day, the retailers really delivered on deals that shoppers just could not pass up despite the inflationary environment. People were shopping no matter what. So, um, here's some more stats for you. Visits to indoor malls during Black Friday were up 261% compared to the daily average for the first 3 quarters of 2022. That's according to Placer.ai. Now, outlet malls and open air lifestyle centers saw visits up 366% and 151% respectively. However, compared to Black Friday 2021, visits were down 2.3% at indoor malls, 3.9% at outlet malls, and down 0.5% at open air lifestyle centers. So, there compared to the year overall, we did really well, but compared to last year's Black Friday, things were down a bit. And some retail experts are saying they believe that this latest data just serves as continued confirmation of the decline of Black Friday's in-store shoppers. You know, I said this over and over again on the show, and I'll say it one more time. I read this, oh, I know it had to be, what is this, 2022, at least 12 years ago. I read a report on air on the radio that said that every year um, online shoppers were going to increase more and more and more. And at some point, they believed, I can't recall which outlet or trade publication I was reading, but they were um, forecasting that at some point there will be more online shoppers than in-store shoppers. And I don't want to see that day happen, right? I just can't imagine wanting to get up and go to the mall and there is no mall anymore. What about you? No, I don't want that to happen. But anyway, it is slowly but surely happening according to this data. All right, and so in other news, everybody, well, I missed another music award show. I tell you, the Soul Train Music Awards happened recently. And let me go ahead and pull that up so that I can share some of that information um, with you. I think I got a tweet or an email or something about some of the winners, but apparently it all went down on Saturday night, November 27th, on BET. And it's being reported that Beyonce was the big winner for the 2022 Soul Train Awards. Um, and for the fifth consecutive year, a female artist has walked away with the female solo artist, I mean, with the Album of the Year award is what I'm trying to get out here. And so that's a good thing for women, I think. I believe it is. All right, and so let's go ahead and just take a quick look at some other winners for the night. It looks like Silk Sonic. I believe that was the email that I got, that Silk Sonic won Video of the Year for the second year in a row for their um, smoking, what is it called? Smoking Out the Window song. It's a retro soul duo of consisting of Bruno Mars and um, oh my goodness, his name escapes me just that quick. But anywhere they had the Leave the Door Open song, as well as there was one more. They remade a song by Confunction. Oh my God, Anderson Paak, that's his name. I can't believe I couldn't call his name, but anyway, they won for Video of the Year. Thames also won Best New Artist, beating Long and the Red Hot Steve Lacy. Maverick City Music with Kirk Franklin took Best Gospel Inspiration Award. Let's see, Ari Lennox had six nominations, by the way. And what did she win? Ah, I'm just kind of reading this off the cuff. Actually, I believe she was a performer there. Uh, the group Escape became the second all-female group to receive the Lady of Soul honor. And the iconic funk band Morris Day and the Time received the Legend Award, which was presented to them by J.B. Smoove. So it sounds pretty good, right? Sounds pretty good. All right. And so that's just a real quick, brief recap. As I was kind of putting this together, it came across on the screen, I believe, like I said in the email, that it happened and I missed it. So I just wanted to make note of that. Also, what I learned in the entertainment world is that there have been some Will Smith sightings. Yeah, this past week, he showed up on a couple of talk shows, and of course, he's promoting his new movie, Emancipation. And yeah, it's described as an action thriller about the life of a slave man who risked his life for his family and for freedom. And there's this iconic picture. It's a true story. There's an iconic picture of the guy that he's portraying in this film, um, with him sitting in a chair with his arms on his legs and showing his back. The photo is of his back and how he had been whipped by slave masters. But anyway, the director of the film is Antoine Fuqua, and it releases on December 9th on Apple TV as well as select theaters. So make sure you go out and support it. And that was one of the things that he was highlighting in some of these interviews that he was doing. He doesn't want people to um, not support the film because of his you know, boo boo mistake that he made earlier this year, because of all the other fine actors and actresses in the film, and of course the director Antoine Fuqua, along with other producers of the film. He wants them to receive the acknowledgement that they deserve, and so he's asking people to support it for the sake of those people. And so I'm going to check it out as well. That's another one that's on my list that I'll be checking out. All right, and so I don't I hope that it's just my headphones and not the microphone. I'll do a playback after this recording to see, but it sounds like my mic is going in and out. I truly hope it's not, and I apologize if that's the case. All right, so let's go ahead and wrap up this segment with Merriam-Webster's 2022 word of the year, and it's called gaslighting. Yeah, the word is gaslighting, and this was announced on Monday. And they made it the word of the year because there was a 1,740% increase in lookups for the term throughout this year. And of course, they define gaslighting as a psychological manipulation of a person, usually over an extended period of time, that causes the victim to question the validity of their own thoughts, perception of reality, or memories, and typically leads to confusion, loss of confidence and self esteem, uncertainty of one's emotional or mental stability, and a dependency on the perpetrator. Oh, that's wicked. That's wicked. All right. And so, here's some more history on this word, gaslighting. By the 1990s, the term gaslight had gained more casual use outside of psychology, usually in a broader context of social, societal issues as well as politics. And so, it in that context, it's described as the act or practice of grossly misleading someone, especially for a personal advantage. And even going way back in history, on how the word even came into existence, it came from a 1938 British play called Gaslight by a British novelist and playwright, Patrick Hamilton. Now, the play was adapted into two separate films, both called Gaslight in the 1940s, and then Saturday Night Live did a spoof one um, just earlier this year, from what I understand. Now, the play was obviously dark and wicked and about a deceitful marriage where the husband is trying to overpower the wife by convincing her that she's crazy, and so one of his tactics is to dim the gas lights and then try to make her think they're not dimmed. That is so crazy to me. Who's the crazy one in that, after all? But anyway, that's where it all came from. All right. All right. So the word of the year for 2022, according to Merriam-Webster, is gas lighting. And so they said that the word Omicron was one that was in consideration, because of the jump in searches that it received based on the Omicron strain of the coronavirus, I guess. And then another word that saw a big increase in searches this year was oligarch, and that was right after, in early March, right after Russia invaded Ukraine. Um, yeah, they I guess people wanted to know more about the Russian oligarchs and their families. Okay. All right, everybody. Well, I think that is it on our news now and information. Now let's go ahead and get into our cafe talk. I'm just going to play some festive music in the background and do the cafe talk and then kind of wrap up the show. Is that all right? And by the way, I do not own the rights to this music, but here it is. Sweet potato pie or pumpkin pie, what do you like? What do you prefer? Now, of course, we know historically African Americans and others from the African diaspora um, or diaspora prefer sweet potato pie because the sweet potato pie reminds, or reminded, I should say, the sweet potato itself reminded the early um, African Americans who came to this country. It reminded them of the yams, which um, are from the African continent, but in those days they weren't able to bring them with them, and so when they discovered the sweet potato, they thought, "Oh, this reminds us of yams," and so they preferred the sweet potato, and eventually a sweet potato pie evolved out of that preference. And of course, passing it down generation after generation after generation is just what the African American and African diaspora are used to enjoying, and so they enjoy the sweet potato pie. Now, Europeans, or what are called the first settlers to this new America, way back in the 1600s, were introduced to the pumpkin by Native Americans, and they taught them how to, make use of the pumpkin. And by 1796, the a sweet pumpkin pie appeared in a popular American cookbook. And so that's how the Europeans, or folks here in the United States, sort of developed a palate for pumpkin pie as opposed to sweet potato pie. And African Americans who have um, um, ties to, or are also have ancestry from the indigenous community, the Native Americans, who also have a liking or preference for pumpkin pie. But for me personally, I just prefer the sweet potato pie because that has been in my family. And I have to admit, some years ago, I did I tasted the pumpkin pie, and I have to admit that in a small way there was a similarity in taste, and I guess it's because some of the same spices are used to make the custard for the sweet potato pie and the pumpkin pie. But yeah, yes, I just still prefer the sweet potato pie because if you, without the spices, if you taste the pumpkin, and without the spices, just taste sweet potato, there is a strong difference. But once you mix that custard up and then put in those spices, then I